Bad things happen all the time. What's the big deal about the Wheelbarrow Kid? He is not the only one who had alcoholic parents or lived in institution. He is not the only one who attended many schools and still matriculated. Let's get serious. He is not the only one who had to struggle in life and had to navigate multiple challenges and obstacles. You hear him speak about living on the street. So what? There are millions still sleeping under bridges every day. He speaks about his challenges in school and how he persevered even though everything conditioned him to give up. Today, millions of young people are still struggling to stay in school until matric. Listen, I have daily conversations with the Wheelbarrow Kid, and the fact that he was not born with extraordinary skills or privileges, status or prosperity. In other words, the very things that makes him as common as the grass we cut in summer are the very things that endears him to millions across the globe and make him unique, an inspiration and symbol of possibility and hope. Why? Because the story of the Wheelbarrow Kid is not the events of his life as a child. I know some people who grew up through worse circumstances. People love the Wheelbarrow Kid because he shows them how to overcome, how to recover, how to pick yourself up, how to dream big, how to change your thinking, how to believe that you can change. He shows you how to change your life even though everyone and everything around you is restrictive. He doesn't just speak about the destination. He shows you the path you need to take to get there. He is like a big brother, a close friend, and sometimes the voice of reason in your head. People love the Wheelbarrow Kid for different reasons. A lot of things happened when you hear the story, yes. A lot of things happened, but what happened is not the story. What happens after the event is the story. If you are satisfied with just knowing one event of a person's life and define a person by that incident alone, you must be among the most miserable people to live with. And here's why. People are defined not by what happens, but by what happens after whatever happened. No one wants to be locked in an event of the past, even if the event is good and worth celebrating. And those who say they have nothing to hide or to be shameful of have not lived half of their lives yet, or are not telling the whole truth. This is what I didn't understand a few years ago. But it is so clear now, especially because I've embraced my humanness, faced my fears, and acknowledged my shortcomings. You see, a random collection of events is not a story. It is the thread that connects each event that makes a story. Working like cause and effect. If there is no thread, then it is just an anecdote. People don't want to immerse themselves in an event because a successful event does not mean success for the participant. I want to invest my time and attention into something that I can be a part of, that evokes a desire in me to be a better version of myself. Because if I'm going to be you, who's going to be me? And if you are going to be me, who's going to be you? For me, I look for the thread that runs through the events, especially the threads that lead from the event. You see, what happens after the event, it is how you respond that makes you a hero or villain. I want to be able to identify with a real person, their failures and successes too. Not just a curated or edited story. Why? Because I also want to be a hero. When I realized this truth, I also realized that I was not the only one. Everyone wants to be a hero of their story. I asked some film experts to examine and explain why people love the story of the Wheelbarrow Kid. Even though he is flawed and not perfect. He is not your typical hero with superpowers like Captain America or Thor, etc. I was amazed at the response and revelation. Let me explain. Every movie, without exception, has 4 characters. There may be others, but they play supporting roles. Number 1, the hero. Number 2, the villain. Number 3, the victim. And then number 4, the guide. Stories we read are different from the stories that we live every day. And in the stories that we live, if we make an honest assessment, we will admit that we all want to be the hero of our own stories. It is an innate desire and unquenchable thirst. It is what we live for, what we plan for and strive towards. Most times, however, we become the villain in our own stories because we work against ourselves. What makes a hero or a villain is simply how they respond to a crisis. A painful situation such as hurt, abandonment, suffering, rejection, false accusation, etc. The dilemma, the crisis, the predicament, the problem may be the same, but your response makes you a villain or a hero, antagonist or protagonist. A proactive and positive response makes a person a hero. That might sound all well and good, but the hero is not a hero because he is a hero. His choice makes him or her a hero or heroine. His response is the deciding factor. But if you are not a hero before the predicament and choice, how do you make a hero choice? No one chooses to be a hero. You choose to do the right thing, a right response, an unexpected, proactive response that transforms you from a regular person into a hero in the eye of the beholder. When you take the high road, people look up to you. You might make a lot of mistakes leading to that point, like myself, but you interpret every failure and fumble as defining moments of shaping, learning curves, pruning and tilling of the soil for what is ahead of you. That is how you become and remain a hero. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. What matters is how many times you get up. Most times, the hero does not realize that he has the capacity to take the high road. When you watch a movie and follow the best stories, you will always find a guide who gives the right word to the hero in that painful moment when he thinks about how to respond to the situation. And it is his turning point. He becomes a hero by that positive choice that says, it is what it is. So I will not spend my energy on what I cannot change, but I will focus and use it to my advantage and press forward. I will learn from it and grow. I will be better and not bitter. So he forgives and forgoes many things that can distract him. The guide, though not the hero, brings out the hero in the character. The villain, on the other hand, seeks revenge in the same situation. And that revenge may take different forms, but none is productive. Now, what about the victim? The victim is the proverbial damsel in distress, someone who is trapped, helpless, and hopeless, just waiting to be rescued, usually by the hero. But every time the hero makes an attempt, he has to face the villain who tries to prevent the rescue. That's what makes the movie the movie. But what makes the victim a victim? That is a more important question. When a person thinks he has no options and feels trapped, etc., then he is adopting a victim mentality. Trapped underground, trapped in outer space, trapped in your basement, trapped in an accident. You can change the setting, but there will be no options. However, the hero always sees options or creates options. Now let's get to the point and application. In each of our lives, we have to realize that we can be a villain to ourselves by the limiting thoughts, desire for revenge, the desire to prove yourself right to a group of people who don't really care. This is the hopeless inner dialogue that we have with ourselves. I call this fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Listen, we will be facing difficult situations that may seem hopeless, and we will be tempted to think that we are victims. When that happens, Even if there are opportunities and options, we won't see them. We get blinded by a victim mindset. A villain also has a victim mindset. Now, who makes the difference to help transform the protagonist into a hero? The writer? Not really. The writer has to create the catalyst in movies and theater. They call this person the guide. Yes, the guide. And here's the awesome truth. We must sometimes be the guide that we need to our own self, because in moments of loneliness and isolation, we only have ourselves. Some people would say that our real guide is God. Let's say that God is our master guide, but God will not act for you. You have to choose. I believe that God gives opportunities, and success depends on how prepared you are and how you use those opportunities. When we spiritualize every single thing in our lives, we might miss the point of it all. This is the way we actually write our own stories, and I didn't know it back then. Some of us are not writing our own stories. We are merely correcting, trying to make everything look pretty and perfect for the world to see. But life is messy, and we are not perfect. Some people are living other people's lives, and they wonder why they feel inadequate, insecure, or incompetent. We have to fight our own battles. And if you are a David, you cannot fight in Saul's armor. Even if Saul is the king, you have to fight in your own armor. Let me tell you, I feel good when I hear that people love me. And I know that they love me not because I am perfect. This makes me really feel loved because I know I am not perfect. I let people down. I let myself down. I even have disappointed God multiple times. Luckily, He doesn't keep a record. We want to settle every score, straighten every wrong, every response, hope people forget our wrongs. I guarantee you, there might be some reasons to not like me, but there are much more reasons to love me. And the same can be said of you. I'm not really interested in how and why you fell or failed. I want to know how and why you got up and pressed on. That is what inspires people. Small people focus on small things. People who are insecure and feel like victims like to prop themselves up by putting others down. Great people lift others up. They build. I think that is why people love the story of the Wheelbarrow Kid. For a moment, let me distance myself from the Wheelbarrow Kid to give some perspective. The story of the Wheelbarrow Kid is not a sanitized story. It is not a virus-free story. It is real. He failed multiple times, but he cannot be branded a failure. Just when you think he landed in some quicksand that sucks him down, he finds something to hold on to and pulls himself up. He refuses to be a victim, and he fights the urge to be the villain. And that is what we all want. We want to know how to do that. I am able to say these things confidently because no one knows the Wheelbarrow Kid better than me. He has never abandoned me. He is constantly pulling me into the future. If I ever needed a personal coach, he is the one. He understands me and forgives me and always has my best interest at heart. If you haven't met him yet, trust me, he's the real deal. Some best friends share room, but the Wheelbarrow Kid and I share our lives. That is the story of the Wheelbarrow Kid. He was his own guide and chose to ignore the villain inside of him or the villains outside of him. He refused to be sucked into a victim mindset, and he made the most of every bad situation. The Wheelbarrow Kid even walked out of his home as a child to live in the streets in order to live in some hope. At home, he was a victim. If he retaliated, he would be a villain. But he chose to be a hero because he listened to his guide. One thing I learned from the Wheelbarrow Kid is that when you become your own guide, then you are being transformed from simply being an observer in your life to the real protagonist in your story. That is when you start owning your life. And when you do, you are ready to live it. Even in his adult life, the Wheelbarrow Kid makes some serious mistakes and sometimes fall. And yet he picks himself up like he did as a kid and moves forward. That is why people love the story of the Wheelbarrow Kid. It is real, messy, identifiable, and always inspires a proactive response. That is why I love the Wheelbarrow Kid. He is not perfect, and that is why he is the perfect example to inspire hope and resilience, because none of us are perfect. I understand why people love him. I love him. He's my best friend and my guide. If you love stories, and I'm sure you do, you know that besides the villain and victim, every good story also has a hero and a guide who transforms the main actor into a hero with a word fitly spoken. You've seen the guide in nearly every story you've read, you've listened to, or watched. Karate Kid has Miyagi, Frodo has Gandalf, Katniss has Haymitch, and Luke Skywalker has Yoda. For me, I had the Wheelbarrow Kid. I see so many young people who want to be like the Karate Kid, but they lack a Miyagi. Gandalf, Haymitch, and Yoda and others have served their purpose in the movies, but in real life, no one comes close to the Wheelbarrow Kid. People love the Wheelbarrow Kid not because of who he is, but because of who they become when they allow him into their lives. The Wheelbarrow Kid is that external guide who has the experience, the right word, the right tone and touch. He brings out the best in you. The Wheelbarrow Kid inspires you to be the hero in your story. The Wheelbarrow Kid may be the hero in his story, but he is just the guide in your story. In each of our lives, we have a choice presented at different times. To be a hero, to be a villain, a victim, or to be a guide. No one can make you a victim, by the way, without your permission. The Wheelbarrow Kid is not the main actor in the narrative called The Wheelbarrow Kid. The Wheelbarrow Kid is the guide that inspires heroism in ordinary people. Actually, the Wheelbarrow Kid awakens the guide in each of us so that we can be our own guide. Shake off that victim mindset, imprison and silence the villain in us, and fuel the hero that we each were destined to be. That is why I love the Wheelbarrow Kid. He made me a hero in my own story, and I believe he can do the same for you. When you meet him, he will introduce you to yourself, and you will never be the same again. I know that everyone is not the same. Your chains may be similar or different, past or present, circumstantial or in your mind. Sometimes you might feel like you have the strength of a powerful elephant but chained to a puny stake, and you don't know how to break free. You might ask if you can escape your karma, break the chains that hold you back, and if it is possible for you to have a future that is different from your past, or the one that you have yielded to over the years. The answer is yes, you can. The process and steps to help you transition into the future you are destined for is the reason why I transformed the book and television series into the most dynamic, one-of-its-kind life coaching courses. It is 100% online, self-paced, and the springboard you need to propel you towards your life's purpose and destination in the privacy of your own space and at your own pace. I believe that it's your birthright to be happy and successful, and promise that you will learn to create a remarkable rhythm of every single event in your life